shall we talk about the economy? Because Britain faces a 1979 moment. That's what Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves is expected to say in her annual May lecture tonight. The Labour Chancellor is expected to announce working with businesses to create a decade of national renewal. Well, joining me now to discuss this is GB News' economics and business editor Liam Halligan with On the Money. Liam, welcome to the show. Always an absolute pleasure. So, say a lot of things about Rachel Reeves, but not a lot of people would compare her to Margaret Thatcher. Tell us, what's going on in this announcement today?
There's a little bit of media mischief going on here, Martin. Look, the Shadow Chancellor isn't comparing herself to Margaret Thatcher. What she is doing is she's talking about the late 1970s, a period that you and I know well, because basically Britain, the economy was on its knees. It was the winter of discontent. You had rubbish in the streets. You had a huge amount of industrial strike action. And what Rachel Reeves is going to do tonight in her annual May's lecture, this is a lecture given in the City of London, the Mansion House, lots of finery and so on, usually by a big figure from business economics or a City of London titan every year. What she's going to be doing this evening is trying to convey that Labour will be safe with the economy. The economy is safe in Labour's hands. And she's talking about the late 1970s because the late 1970s were a period that sparked change. And in, of course, the 80s, there were reforms and the economy eventually turned the corner. A lot of division, a lot of heartache. So that's basically what she's trying to do. It's like a massive prawn cocktail offensive. And that was what happened in the mid-90s when Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and other new Labour denizens in opposition went round the city, went round businesses and said, look, we know that Labour's wrecked the economy in the past, but the economy is safe in our hands. So she's not going to be talking specifics tonight. I've got a little on the money graphic because it wouldn't be on the money without a graphic, would it, Martin? I know you feel shortchanged and we don't want to shortchange you. So let's have a look at what Rachel Reeves will actually say. She's going to be talking about growth. That's growth of the economy is achieved through stability. It's worth saying that Labour have backed all the Tories' budget measures that were in Chancellor Jeremy Hunt's budget earlier this month, including those tax cuts, the reduction of the headline rate of national insurance for employees, from 10 to 8%. Labour's backing those. Somewhat controversially, some may think, the Shadow Chancellor wants more power for the Office for Budget Responsibility. Now, the Office for Budget Responsibility is a bunch of economists in Whitehall who make forecasts which seem to have taken on the status of holy writ. Some people, including me, think that those forecasts really box in the ministers and mean that they can't cut taxes as and when they want to. I think a lot of people will think that's a bit controversial. She wants to make the OBR even more powerful. And also, the Shadow Chancellor says, rather than sacking the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury, which is what Liz Truss did when she came into office, Rachel Reeves says she's going to strengthen the growth unit at HM Treasury. What's the growth unit? It's a bunch of economists in the Treasury who focus on proposals to promote economic growth, growing the pie so each of us can have a bigger slice, rather than focusing, as some of us suspect of the Treasury sometimes, rather than focusing on ways to extract more tax from households and firms. So look, very few specifics, I think, in tonight's May's lecture from Rachel Reeves. Labour don't want to give us specifics because if they do, if they come up with exact policies, the likes of you and me will scrutinise them and raise difficult points. The government might even nick them, as the government did Labour's policy to strengthen the tax regime around wealthy, so-called non-domiciled foreigners, the non-dom taxes living in the UK. Certainly the government pinched that policy from Labour. So there'll be few specifics, lots of mood music, basically a rerun of the mid-90s prawn cocktail offensive. So we can expect some very big crustaceans in the City of London this evening as Rachel Reeves, Shadow Chancellor, reaches out, as it were. No, she's not a member of the Four Tops, but she'll be reaching out anyway to people in the City of London, business audience across the country, saying the economy will be safe in Labour's hands. You can trust us with the country and we're going to win the general election. That's what she's going to say.